I'm like, I really, really want to go, but I have 2 trips already planned for next year. I'm going to Thailand in February and then Portugal in August. So it's like
Nice.
a matter of like taking time off and like having enough money to do it, but like I need to go.
Awesome. Yeah, I
I
would
need
love
to.
to see you there. I guess the part that why not come to Maui?
I guess for taking more time off and money. Because
Cool.
then I'm also saving for the next 2 trips.
Cool. Time off is are you like from your job? You mean?
Yeah.
Cool. What do you do for work or making money or play? However you describe that.
That's a good question. So I actually work for a company that I am pretty much against, like in my beliefs. Like I hate pharmaceutical companies, and I actually work in a company that plans events and meetings for pharmaceuticals.
Okay. So
And
okay. Go ahead.
so yeah, we like work in like planning the meetings and events that gets their drugs out. And I like what I'm doing, but then I hate what I'm supporting or what I'm promoting.
Yeah, I can relate to that because I used to do promotions for companies, and then one day it hit me that I realized I don't believe in this anymore. And then that's actually when a lot of exciting things started happening. That was probably right around the similar time that we started taking our retreats very seriously and started making a lot more. Actually, that's when the Rob Raws. Have you ever seen the Rob Raws?
I actually just started looking into it ever since I found your book.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's when we started the Rob Raws. Was when I stopped doing that kind of work. Because we were doing all kinds of promotions and events and marketing, really temporary jobs that I thought were really fun, but they were mostly funded by companies that I did not resonate with. And I definitely resonate even less with probably now. But man, it was a great training. And I guess what I'm saying is that maybe if your experience goes anything like mine, maybe you'll find like these gifts that you've been refining through working for this company, you can now use those for something you do believe in.
I know, that's actually something I've been thinking about, but I actually went on an interview for another company that was like a banquet event company, and he actually like laughed at me. It was like the CFO, and he was like so nasty. And he just said, well, looks like you're in your late 20s and you haven't really held a job for more than 2 years. So I think you need to keep up building your resume. So once he said it to me, I was like, oh my God, like I need to build my resume. Like he's right. I've only worked at a job for maybe 2 years max.
Oh wow.
And it really was like so discouraging. Now I'm like, I got to stick this one out just because somebody can see that on my resume that there are holes in it.
That's so funny. This is fun. We're 4 minutes in, but this is a fun topic. I think the longest I've ever worked a job for was probably 6 weeks.
What?
By far. That was like the longest job, probably by far. There was maybe one other that competed with that. And I'm actually happy. I am so happy that I don't have anything on my resume where I committed to a company that I didn't believe in more than 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Because
Oh
really,
my God, I wish.
because what that guy that you were talking to, he's probably looking for a good employee.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is he's probably looking for someone that's really good at being put under a ploy for a cause that they don't even believe in, but they'll stick with it.
That's a good way to look at it. I walked away feeling like so like broken almost. I was like, wow, he's so right. He's such a jerk.
You mean you were such a jerk, or he was such a jerk?
No, he was. He was so mean.
Well, that's funny too. And another story that can relate to that, just so you know how different although we may have experienced something similar, how different we reacted was that when my book, actually, when I first pitched my book to someone that could really be a huge catalyst for it. He's one of the biggest agents, and I wrote about this in the book, but he's one of the biggest agents. He says on paper he's sold more books than anyone else. He's like the agent of the Beatles, but in the book world. I think he even helped with like Chicken Soup for the Soul and some other like Eckhart Tolle books. But anyways, yeah, he said my book sucked. And if I had listened to him, I don't know where I'd be. Maybe I would be working.
How did he write it?
Well, so technically, I barely wrote any of it. It's mostly voice notes. So when I acknowledged the guy, my friend Sam Poppy is the scribe, so he's a writer, like he actually loves writing, and he joined my 10 All In mastermind group like years ago, and he spent a month with me in Montana, and I would send him voice notes, and it was based on like all the voice notes and conversations and the coaching that we had. And I'm not gonna say, it might have been actually more work doing a book this way than writing it myself. But that's another thing. I teamed up with people to get it done. It wasn't like, I think a lot of people, that's something I'm realizing. I might start doing a podcast and that might be my first episode, like talking about how the book was written and how I think a lot of people are under under an illusion how the books get done, like how art, like how productions get done, whether it's a movie or a book or a passion project. I think a lot of people think they have to put their nose down and do it all by themselves. But in reality, some of I think the pieces of work or literature or movies that we know about most, they might be one name as the author, but it's really way beyond one person. Even all the knowledge that was distilled onto paper through me from the book was not only from my life experience. So that's even more esoteric and gets trippier. But I think this, for me, with 7 minutes in, I feel like this communication is to, at least for you to hear that how different our perspectives on resumes are. For one thing, I think
well, yeah. I mean, that conversation just came up, but I'm trying to think. One other thing was relationships. I really liked your chapter about relationships and making your relationships real versus the like superficial relationship that we developed on the like, oh, how are you? Nice to meet you. But like getting like deeper into a real relationship.
Yeah, and I think they're so correlated, what you brought up first, because here you are, I'm not sure if I would classify the way you're spending the majority of your time doing work for a company that you don't believe in. If that's, I don't know how much time you do that, but that doesn't sound like a relationship. That sounds like you have a false way of relating with yourself when it comes to money.
That's a good point.
And I think that shows, like, that's why it's so cool to me. I love like looking at reality as a fragmented, because if I can find any like clarity on one piece of someone's reality, it usually is indicative of their whole reality.
No, that's pretty, say that one more time.
Like if I can understand, like, so you are, I think you're all of us are very dynamic beings with lots of things happening all the time, and we're always in a state of flux and changing. But if we can get clarity on one piece of someone's reality, whether it's how they relate to their dog or their baby or their parents or their spouse or their job or money, if we can get some clarity on how someone relates to one of those facets of life, it's usually indicative of their whole life, of how they relate to everything.
Yeah, like how you handle anything is how you handle everything.
It's an idea that I'm not sure if I believe 100%, but I do think there is something to be very, like, really thought about, really contemplative about. And I think that this, like, this way you're relating to your job and money, and feeling a bit like contradictory or maybe even hypocritical in a way. I'm not sure how you would describe it, but whatever that feeling is, it seems like there's a more real way for you to relate to your vocation. And it's not based... I think
it definitely surrounds money, because it's more so like, you know, going to college, paying off your student loans, like saving up to buy a house, saving up for... It's just like always like saving, or paying off debt. It's like my relationship with money is definitely not stable or positive even. It's more of like a disconnection because there's just baggage.
So, and I think if you can get real clear and clean that up, or maybe just change your perspective and realize that the richest people on earth are in extreme amounts of debt as well, and that money is like a river and it's not something to be held on to and try to save. It's like, to me, it's an energy to get in the way of and ride, and it's just this fun energy to play with. It's a game. It's like if we can treat money like we're trying to win a Monopoly game, I think it'll be much more fulfilling experience, and to realize what a game and an illusion it is. Then I think once you get more clear with that, then your relationships, every relationship will be more clear, because you're more clear with yourself about something that's very important to you. Run, guan, guan, guan. Run, guan, guan, guan. Run, guan, guan.
Guan, guan, guan.